My name is Galen Holgate, and I'm the jungler for Team FlyQuest. I grew up in Golden Valley, Minnesota. All my friends were on like the same block, and it was a really nice area. There were no crimes or anything. Everything was in walking distance.
Galen and I have been really close overall throughout our entire lives. We fought a lot as kids, as I think any brothers do, but we've always loved each other, and I think that was always a big bonding experience for us to, just go around and have fun together.
It was interesting. Colin's always been very regimented and was always very, this is how it is, and it has to be this way, and everything was very tidy, and Galen had no interest in following the rules, and doing things that way. It's just not how his brain works at all.
I remember when I was like 7 years old and he was in middle school, I thought he was the coolest person ever. So I was like, hey Colin, what do you think about the color blue? He's like, well, I don't think blues are very in right now. And I'm like, oh, can you make it in? And he's like, I'll see what I can do. I remember that specifically for some reason.
We really play a lot of video games together. That's kind of what connected us in a way that gapped the age difference between us. We had different friends, we went to different schools for almost our entire lives, but we always had that together.
We played a lot of games when the boys were young, and started really with Colin being the older with the N64. They were competitive. Galen tried to outdo his brother a lot.
We played a lot of N64 games together, a lot of PS2 games together. I played pretty much every game with my brother. He would play with all of his friends, and I would join with them. And looking back, it's kind of weird, because if I had a younger brother 5 years younger than me, I probably wouldn't let him play any games with me and my friends. Everything he did, I kind of copied, I think. And if it weren't for him, I'd probably be a completely different person today. My parents got divorced when I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old. And after that was when all the problems started happening. After the divorce, we were really low on money. It was very hard for us, and we ended up having to move around to a new house because we couldn't afford the house that we were living in. My mom was really stressed because she was raising me and my brother by herself for the most part. And because of that, I just started playing video games and started doing what made me happy, even though it wasn't a good thing for me to be doing. I started spending less time with my friends in real life. I would just spend all day, go to school, come home, spend all the rest of the night on RuneScape. My mom would be like, you're addicted. I'm not addicted, Mom. You don't get it. I'm just playing for fun. But looking back, I spent way too much time playing random games for no reason. I guess I was just ultimately depressed. I didn't really know what depression was when I was that young, though.
Late end of middle school, he started getting sick in the schools and mostly just having headaches every day. And so he could kind of wake up and just feel bad. I
started to get these really bad chronic migraines. I still have them to this day, but at the time they were really bad. Once I was in 8th grade, it actually got to the point where I could not go to school and did not go to school in the mornings. It came to a certain point where I wouldn't go to school because of the headache, and then because I had already missed a week of school straight, I would be so nervous, I guess, to go back to school. I would keep missing school, keep missing more and more school, to the point where they said I had to start going or I would fail out. And I guess from my mom's point of view, she would just be like, oh, it's just a headache, go to school. Not blaming her or anything, but she would give me an Advil or two and be like, okay, go to school.
That was a tough time. I didn't want to be in a position where, as a single mom, the state was saying that I was negligent and had a son that was delinquent in any way, and he just was miserable all the time. I took him to doctors and specialists, and there was definitely something wrong, but no one could really say what it was. And meanwhile, I had the school nurse on my case every day that he wasn't there, and oh, the county and the state are going to be contacting you because he's missing too much school. It was really a tough time, and just worried sick that something was really wrong.
It was scary. You obviously want the best for your kids, and you don't want anyone to have those kinds of pains and suffering.
And it was like, well, there's all these online school programs that are public schools, but they're online. Let's just give it a try.
So I started off with online school at end of 8th grade. I mean, it's really hard, especially when you don't have self-control like me. Instead of doing my schoolwork, I would just play games. I couldn't get myself to do my work, and I guess I didn't really have someone to force me to do it. I wasn't in like the school environment. I would just do it at my computer, and I couldn't get myself to do the work at my computer when I could just play RuneScape or something instead. So I started doing homeschooling, and my mom would teach me and stuff like that.
Galen played a lot more video games when we switched to homeschooling because there was no time that he had to be online. There was no time that he had to be anywhere. And so he was up all night and he slept all day. And then a few months later, we had a doc refer us to an allergist. And it turned out that he was allergic to cats, and we have 2 cats, and one of them slept in his bed every single night. So it made a big difference.
I think I was 13 or 14 when I first started playing League of Legends. I thought it was like, wow. So when I went into a bot game and I got like level 12 or something, I was like, oh nice, I'm buying all these items, I'm strong. Then I went to the next game and I was level 1 again. I was like, what? Why am I level 1? So that was probably like early season 2 when I first got, I think it was an email or something, and I decided to play it. I wasn't very serious into the game at first. I watched a lot of streams just because I had a lot of free time. So once I jumped into ranked, I was a lot higher than the average player, I would say. I had pretty bad ranked anxiety once I got higher in the ladder. I think I was like Diamond 3 or Diamond 2 or something. And I would just get too scared to play ranked, so I'd make a new account and get it up to the same spot and go from there. But I never actually like sat down and played hundreds of ranked games to see where I would place. And I had like 3 or 4 Diamond 1 accounts with like 75–80% win rate.
So when he was climbing, actually, he would always get really, really excited. He'd be like, Colin, I'm Diamond 1, you know? And so he didn't like talk about it much at the dinner table and be like, hey, like I'm really good at this game and stuff like that. But he was always kind of excited about it.
I never really played a game with an esport before, a League of Legends. All the games I played before were just kind of casual, and I thought it was really cool, but I didn't really think much into it. I never really thought, that's my dream, I want to do this. I just watched it for entertainment.
You know, we started kind of wondering and asking him, so are you gonna go and be a professional gamer? And he would just kind of say, you know, and give a non-answer, a very non-committal answer.
Season 4 Worlds happened, and that was the click for me. That was the Worlds that motivated me to become a pro. I didn't really know what I was doing with my life because I didn't have good grades. Pretty much the only thing I was like semi-decent at was League, and I was like, I think if I don't give this my all now, I don't think I'll be happy with my life, and I think I'm going to regret it later down the line. So I basically just decided like, hey, I think I'm gonna try to go pro. Obviously I didn't tell anyone, but in my mind I was just like, okay, I'm gonna dedicate every day to this. I think at the time it was like, they kind of just thought of me as like almost a failure, like, oh yeah, Galen's just downstairs playing video games all day again. And I think if I told them like, hey, I'm gonna try to go pro in this game, they'd be like Galen's being crazy again. Now he thinks he can be a pro or something. I guess I just kind of wanted to be on my own with this. I wanted to be motivated by myself and see if I could do it without letting everybody know I was doing it, and then if I failed or something, I didn't want to disappoint them even more. So I started playing a bunch, and I got to high masters, low challenger immediately. I just started grinding like 16 hours a day, 14 hours a day, solely queue, watching my VODs in queue, doing everything I could to become a pro, and I got on a team like 4 or 5 months later.
He came upstairs one day and said, hey, I'm going to California. I got signed up for a team. And we were like, okay.
Out of the blue, he's like, I'm leaving in a few days. He didn't have much notice at all.
It was like in the talks of happening, but I didn't want to tell her because I didn't want to tell her like, hey mom, I could be moving to California, and then go through all that like emotion and then end up not going. So I didn't tell her, and then the owner was like, okay, yeah, we want you. Your flight's in like 2 days.
Was excited for him, but also scared for him, obviously.
I was doing background checks on Frank Fang, trying to find out, you know, what the scoop was and make sure it was all legit.
She basically said, I don't want you to go, I don't think it's safe, but I know you and I know I can't stop you from going.
He was 17, probably 6 months away from his 18th birthday, and I just knew that if I told him he couldn't go, he would hate me for it, and he would go in 6 months anyhow. So I really didn't have a choice but to just support him and be his biggest fan.
So joining like my first team, I still had like a ton of social anxiety. Team Imagine, I was still very socially awkward and everything like that. One time I was like, oh, hey Moon, they want you to do the interview after the game. And during the games, I could not focus because I was so nervous for the interview after the game, even though it was just Challenger and there's probably like 5,000 people watching. As a 17-year-old, moving to California by yourself in a gaming house with like 6 or 7 or 8 other people, you kind of just, you gotta learn. Like, you gotta learn how to interact with people. And it's been a slow process for me. I think I'm at a pretty good place now, but even on energy and stuff like that, I wasn't fully, I guess, like a regular person. I wasn't a regular person yet.
I absolutely had no idea that anything like this was possible at all. LCS and League of Legends has really brought him, I don't want to say out of his shell, but he's really, really developed into a much broader, more social person. Very proud of him.
I think it's been really cool now to go on Reddit and see the post-game threads and, you know, the talking about High Moon and all this other stuff that I think, you know, we hadn't seen before. And I'm just really happy that he's able to flourish so well and look so good.
Watching Galen play has been a lot of fun. I've watched almost every game. It's funny. It's like a whole different world, and if he's part of that world, then we want to be part of that world too. He's a sweet kid. He hasn't always had an easy time in life, and he's persevered through a lot, and worked really hard to be where he is. I'm proud of him.
Esports has like completely changed my life. Honestly, sometimes I get like kind of down, you know, after a loss or something, or before this split, my career wasn't looking that good. But in the back of my mind, I was always like, you know what? No matter what happens, this experience has been like life-changing for me. No matter what, this has like changed my life for the better. I'm a lot more of a complete person now than I was before, and I've made some money. I've gotten a lot of life experience. So no matter what, esports has changed my life for the better. I hope that they're kind of deep down proud of me. They're like, wow, he actually did something with his life, or wow, he's not a complete potato anymore.